Yes, yes. We're super excited. Today we have a special guest, Jaime Fallon.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Hello.
Jaime, thanks so much for coming.
My pleasure.
We're really excited to hear about you and your team and what makes y'all unique in just the real estate market. So tell us a little bit about your background. Like, what were you doing before real estate? How long have you been doing real estate? We'd love to kind of hear your story, and we can kind of just go into the different topics.
The fun part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as I said, my name is Jaime Fallon, not to be confused with Jimmy Fallon. I'm way cooler, more funny,
I would
definitely more creative.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Jimmy. So I have a team of 20. I just signed on a couple more agents this week. So 27, 28 agents,
Right.
the Jaime Fallon Premier Realty team, but I am under the brokerage with NB Elite Realty.
Yeah. Okay.
But I am a broker. So I'm an associate broker under them. And some people ask why I don't go out on my own. Well, I build houses, flip houses, do residential development. So I thought it's best to keep the brokerage as the number one person you sue rather than me personally. Right. So, so that's why I hang my hat with NB Elite Realty. But in all honesty, my brokerage is amazing because we allow investors to come onto our teams. Most brokerages don't allow that. They have crazy high commission splits. So they give me the financial freedom to kind of do what I want. So all that money I've saved from being with, Keller Williams and Coldwell Banker and Compass, I've saved that money. And I was able to delve into the flipping business.
Yeah.
And residential development because land's expensive in Houston, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my basic background. And before this, I was a sales girl for life. I mean, I started with pharmaceutical sales. I worked for Pfizer. Right out of college, I did the veterinary pharmaceutical sales because I was an animal science major. Crazy, right? And then did a little medical device. And then I decided to teach school for 7 years. I taught ag. Yes. And Katie ISD. Wow. Go, yes, Katie.
Awesome.
And then I was like, gosh, we're buying all these investment properties, my husband and I said, why am I giving away my commissions to another real estate agent when I'm doing all the work, finding the properties, helping procure them, getting them ready for market, leasing them out to people. And so I just got my real estate license. Awesome. But I mean, I've been doing this. I built my first house when I was 22.
Wow. When you're 22.
22 years old.
Listen up.
22.
Are you 22-year-old?
The young
Gen Zers and millennials.
You young flipsters out there.
Yes, I built my first time. I think my first paycheck, I was like, okay, I'm going to pay off my student loans.
Yeah.
And then what I'm going to do with all this money. And so I just saved up and contacted a builder and got creative. I was thinking back to my Lincoln Log and Lego days.
Yeah.
And I built a house in Fort Worth.
Wow.
Yep. And then I lived in it for a little while and I thought, I think I'm going to move and make a profit on this baby. And I did, and it worked. And so I just kept doing it.
Okay.
All these years.
And I think the first time we met, Jaime, I gave you a call and you were actually coming out of a property. So this is like your day in, day out.
Yes.
And you tell us what's unique about your schedule. I know you
you
start pretty early.
Yeah.
As some might think.
Before the roosters crow, I'll tell you that. It's still dark out when I get up. When you're an entrepreneur and you have 20 some people looking up to you, and then you're helping manage a team of 450 agents in Houston with your broker, your phone's constantly going. So I don't sleep very much. It's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Sleep when you die. Yeah, right? Sleep when you die. So that's how my day starts. I knock out all my emails. I go to the gym. I get a quick workout in at our CrossFit gym, and then come back, shower, and then it's just off to the races. So and I don't stop until the work's done.
Yeah.
So some days it's some days I'll have an 8-hour day. Sometimes that's on a nice day, and then most days are 12 to 15 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you want to make it in this business, honestly, as you guys know, being, in the mortgage industry, you have to go, and you're a slave to that little device that's hooked to your head and your computer. And, it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely. No, I think, and even hearing you say you do CrossFit, I mean, one of the biggest attractions for CrossFit is the competitive nature. liking to compete.
Absolutely. Me
So that,
competitive?
yeah,
No.
that goes into all aspects. So I mean, starting your day off with that.
Yes. Yeah. My best friend owns the CrossFit gym. It's CrossFit Gone Strong in Katy. And
Okay.
she's an animal. So if you ever want to do CrossFit, come out to CrossFit Gone Strong in Katy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So today, what we're gonna touch on is starting kind of like the flipping process. What are the different things that go into that? What are some things people may not even know? I think it sounds very fun, attractive. You see
HGTV, it's so easy.
you see like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
So easy.
simple.
So easy in one 30-minute
easy.
episode.
Right.
Yeah, you're like, wow.
And it's affordable, really affordable. Right. I'm
Yeah.
always thinking, how do you finance that?
Yeah, you're like, hold on a second.
Yeah, there's honestly take everything you learned from HGTV and throw it in the toilet because it's not how it works. It is, first of all, you got to have some cash, right? You've got to have some kind of capital, some kind of assets, some kind of money in the bank to do it.
Yeah.
If you don't, there are creative ways that you can get with financing. So on a flip I just did, 1719 Nocturne.
Yeah.
I purchased it for $250.
Okay.
And at first I was going to do cash, but then as I delved into the bones of the property, I call it the rat house. It was infested with rats and critters and it had been vacant forever. And it was kind of a little bit of a hoarder house.
Yeah.
And so I reached out and I did a renovation loan instead.
Okay.
We like
So basically you put down a hefty amount of money. Obviously you got to secure that and they can take that away if you don't pay your bills, right? Your mortgage. And then I borrowed, I want to say $175,000 on top of the $250 note for the property.
Mhm.
And then I turned around and sold it for $622,500.
Wow.
So I made a
good
nice
profit.
chunk of change on the
Yeah.
property. Yeah.
Wow.
So, Jamie, as you look at, I think like what are the signs for a good investment, right? If you're going to step into rehabbing a property, I mean, there's some that you're going to put money into and not get a lot out of. Others may require a lot more work, yet could potentially be greater return.
Yeah.
Like when you're looking like property opportunity, maybe.
Right.
What do
You have to
see?
look at the ARV, which is your after repair value. Okay. So you don't want to, there's formulas for it. I won't get into the minutia of that, but you need to make sure that you're paying less than the property is potentially worth if somebody puts it on the market. So the best properties to find for flips are off-market properties. And in this instance, it was an elderly woman. Her husband had died. She moved away and just kind of left the house and contacted me and said, I want you to sell this property. So I said, I need a key. She's like, well, I'm in Arizona. I'm like, okay, well, how do I get in? So we finagled all that. I walked through the property and I knew immediately I was going to offer her money for it.
Yeah.
After I ran the comps and everything, I'm like, the comps in the neighborhood, it's super important to have partners. So you've got to have your lenders ready to go. You've got to have your real estate agent ready to go, which luckily I am one. But you have to have your architects because this house needed an architect.
Yep.
And you've got to have contractor partners, whether you're going to sub it out yourself. I don't recommend that. It's better if you have a main contractor for a property like this, because when you're gutting to the studs, if you try to sub it out yourself, then, if you're not on top of everything, and I'm a busy person, I couldn't. So it's worth it for me to pay the amount of money that I paid to my contractor.
Yeah.
And for me, because we do so many of these properties, he charges me cost plus 10%.
Nice.
Is that normal? No. For you folks out there at home, that's like an HGTV backdoor thing right there. They don't typically do that.
She's a repeat customer.
Yes, I have the frequent flyer mile punch ticket to prove it. Yeah. The subway punch card.
Right.
That's what I'm on.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a good contractor?
In a good contractor, I mean, honesty is number one. Transparency is number two.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, if I go and buy some of the materials, he doesn't charge me for those. If he buys the materials, he'll upcharge me. But it's all about you check in with them once a week. If they're not, and when I will randomly go to the house and not tell anybody I'm going and see who's there, see what's happening, because the longer it sits, that's mortgages, taxes, and insurance that you're paying. So typically on a renovation loan, the lender wants you to at least have the property for 7 months before you don't, before they get dinged for it, before they get in trouble for doing the renovation.
Yep.
So, in that instance, that's what I did. I knew it was going to take me about 7 months to do it. Yeah. So you have to have your people lined up. I love it when people say, how do you get into flipping? Well, you got to have some experience or shadow somebody or live in the trenches. You've got to learn. My best advice is not to start with one that's going to need a $200,000 remodel like that. That is not a first time flip.
Yeah.
Your first time flip should be a lipstick flip. And that's paint, maybe some quartz, maybe an update in cabinets, hardware, lighting.
Yeah.
That's a lipstick flip.
Super easy.
Okay.
Yeah. This one was not. And we can have the viewers look at the before pictures and your mind will be like,
yeah,
blown.
you can, we'll put them on the screen for you guys, but there's a lot of stuff everywhere. I mean, it's a big endeavor. Really.
Yeah, let me see those and I can kind of walk you through.
Absolutely.
If you have specific questions, feel free to ask.
Jamie, I want to go back to topic you just hit, because you said you need your team, right? So that's one, you got to have capital. Two, a real estate agent that understands, that can see
the vision,
right?
Yeah.
Gosh, this is great. Do this, and this will bring up that. What'd you call it? AV?
Your ARV, your after repair value.
Value.
But then you need a lender.
Right.
You need a GC
right.
of some sort, right? An architect, if you're going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do anything halfway structural, you better bring an architect in.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's not just, I'm going to flip. There's much more beforehand work that has to go into this.
Right. And not even just that, if your contractor doesn't have good contacts with the city of Houston, your permitting will sit. And I learned that the hard way on another project that I did.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got to grease the squeaky wheel, so to speak. I mean, you're not paying them off or anything, but if they have a relationship with the permitting departments, it speeds things on a heck of a lot faster than it does if you just grab some Joe Blow off the street and be like, you want to be my contractor? No.
Right.
Because I permitted, most flippers don't permit the entire project. I had permitted everything.
Nice.
Because I took out, I mean, you can see from the pictures, plumbing, electrical, roof, windows, everything was gutted. Everything. We had to add structural beams because I ripped things out, ripped out a fireplace.
Yeah.
So
we can maybe start, I think I'm seeing right now some of the pictures of the fireplace coming down.
So if we go back to kind of the front entry right here, there was a massive wall, that wall right there. And I took that wall down. So that was obviously load bearing and structural because there was a massive fireplace that went all the way up through vaulted. There was actually a vaulted attic. So rip that down. So you have to put power beams all the way around. So, and they have to be really thick. And so I also recommend when you are doing a flip like this is take the pictures of the materials when the walls are open, take the pictures of the plumbing so they can see that you replace those old galvanized to PEX plumbing. Take the pictures of those structural beams so they can see it. And so I did. So when I went to sell it, the buyer was like, well, what? I don't know that you did this. I'm like, oh, really? Here's a video. Here's a picture. Here's the approval through the city of Houston. So there was no confusion. Right. So the whole thing was permitted. And this is what I do. So let me just go back a little bit. I do this for all my sellers before I put a house on the market too. So I'm primarily a listing agent.
Yes.
So, let's say, Betty Jo wants to sell her house and it's worth 400,000 if she didn't do any cosmetic updates. So I say, okay, well, I'm looking at these houses updated around you and I can sell these things for close to 500 if we put 20,000 into it. Boom, no brainer. Right. So I manage those for my clients. And so that's how I got started in doing these big, massive flips is I probably help people update their house a minimum of 30 times a year, different clients.
Wow.
So all the houses that I list, I do this for.
Great.
Yeah. And not at this magnitude, but I mean, this house, so you can see these old cabinets in here. I tried to knock them down with a sledgehammer. I tried with a hammer. I tried everything possible, but this house was built in 1960 and that material is that thick. And
they're
it broke
not coming down.
It broke
Yeah.
my heart tearing it down.
They don't make things
No.
like that anymore.
No,
So
everything's
that's-
MDF and
Yeah.
pine and it's just junk, right?
IKEA
IKEA.
exists
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just took down, I opened everything up. The new modern floor plans are open, light, bright. So once I took down all these walls and opened up the floor plan, it was like,
Yeah.
And let me just tell you, my
Yeah,
husband
I
doesn't
bet.
get involved with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
He does not. And I said, I want you to see my new flip. And he's like, okay. And he walked in. He goes, you're kidding me, right? I'm like, no, babe, this is it. He's like, what? You're going to waste $250,000? I'm like, well, it's my money, not yours. So yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. And
yeah.
then
After you
afterwards,
sold it.
yeah, after he sold it, he was like, oh, are you taking me to dinner? Are we going on a trip? What's going on?
Do another one. Of
Yeah.
those? Yeah.
So, but the fireplace, I mean,
Yeah.
I paid somebody $1,200 to take down that fireplace brick by brick.
Mhm.
And it was 25 feet tall and thick and big. But just doing that, but I replaced it. If you take one out, you should really replace it with another one to give it a feature wall.
Yeah.
So you can see the afters and the after pictures. I put in, just an electric fireplace, but I did some cool accent wall panels over the top. And it was like, wow.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I
Just those little things.
like you said, you felt bad when you're tearing down like the
I did.
cabinets.
I did.
There's a part of this house that you've kept some of the old stuff in the house, right?
I did.
Tell us about that.
I
'Cause
did.
repurposing is really huge.
Yeah,
It adds
yeah.
character to the house.
Yeah, so there was a couple areas in which we had to close off windows to allow room for cabinetry, to allow room for a huge primary suite closet.
Yeah.
So I took the old brick from that and then put it in the old window space. So, so I kept that. And then in the powder bathroom, there wasn't a powder bathroom. So this house was, I think, 1,960 square feet. And I added on a huge primary cathedral ceiling primary suite.
Yeah.
But in that we didn't have a powder bathroom. And so I took all the cedar, some of the cedar, this house was built to cedar, if that tells you anything, that was still pristine condition. And I did like a little matrix wall of cedar inside the powder bathroom.
Really cool.
And so and then I tied in the color, the iron ore Sherwin-Williams color from the fireplace. And then I painted the cedar that color. So you just want it, when you're thinking about flipping, you want to you don't want it to look piecemeal. You want it to feel like it's brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cohesive. So I had a color palette and then we just ran with the color palette throughout the house.
Great.
Yeah. Super simple.
Yeah.
7 months.
7 months.
7 months.
From start to finish, from the time I closed to the time I sold, 7 months.
Nice.
7 months. Okay.
And it was only on the market 2 days.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then whenever you were putting this on the market, you did some unique things with staging. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So this is a service I offer for all of my sellers as well, is especially if they're not there and the house is vacant. When you're scrolling through HAR or Zillow or whatever platform you use, you see those houses that are taken with an iPhone and the pictures are blurry.
Yep. Seen that.
Bad. Okay. So I don't let any of my agents on my team do that. If I catch them doing that, there's some wrath. There's some.
I really like the one where they're taking the picture
and they're
in the mirror and they can see. You're like,
they're in it.
Yeah, amazing. I've seen some really crazy things. Yeah. So I have professional pictures taken by my photographer, Kelly Kemp, with K2 Imagery.
Yeah.
And they're not expensive, but she knows I virtually stage and she does as well. And then, she takes those pictures and then I upload those pictures to an app that I use on my computer, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I put all high-end restoration hardware furniture, high fashion home furniture, our house furniture. And then it looks completely different.
It's shocking. Yeah, it's really shocking to see it.
It's virtual.
It's virtual, but it looks real.
It looks real.
It looks real.
It's proportionally in place.
And that's hard to do.
There's a rug. I mean, it's amazing way.
Yeah, you get to you get to dream a little bit about.
And that's the goal. That's the goal, because when you walk into these big open spaces, buyers have no way of knowing, where do I put furniture? What do I do with this space? It's so big.
Yeah, you don't know.
So when you do that, I mean, then they go, oh God, I saw that furniture in our house.
Yeah.
And then I'm also a vendor in our house, so I can get them whatever furniture they want. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
One-stop shop. I mean,
Yeah. So I do
Jamie,
it all.
You bring the
I do
you
it all.
bring the design eye, you bring the know-how, you bring the purchasing, the ability to
Right.
purchase, right? I mean,
Right.
you could
Mm,
if they wanted their place to look like this,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
could.
I got it.
Yeah.
Press a button. it's
And I
done,
help
right?
in when I'm representing buyers, I also help them outfit their places.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I just signed on the new recruit to the Houston Rockets. He's moving here from the Dallas Mavericks, and he's like, I need a place to live and I need it temporary. Can you help me? I'm like, yes, I can. So I'm helping him get all his furniture in the house for
Right
him.
on.
So that's just something that I offer. I don't charge my clients to do that. It's something, I mean, if I'm getting paid a commission,
Mhm.
Mm,
that's where it comes in.
Well, you're
Mm.
you're really creative, and
Yeah,
you just,
I try to be.
Well, and I just get that. That's kind of your happy space.
this is
It
fun.
is.
This
Right.
is
Oh my
fun.
God.
This
Yeah.
is fun stuff.
This is my Zen motion.
Oh, yeah.
moment.
Right.
This is when I get the pictures.
not
of,
yoga.
like,
Not
it-
yoga.
Yeah, no.
This is it. This is it.
If I get the pictures in from
Stop-
Kelly
stop
on
it.
midnight, I'll be up at 3 a.m. staging it at my
Yeah,
desk.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I mentioned this to you when we saw it before, but the fireplace with the design and the just how that comes off of the wall is really cool. That was you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
having a vision around,
Yeah.
and really just kind of taking the flat wall,
Yeah.
and bringing some life into
Absolutely.
It. It's so cool.
Absolutely. And you're whoever you work with too. I've worked with several general contractors that want to fight me on stuff.
Yeah.
And I fired my last one. I was done with
I
them.
know.
And I just said, listen, if you can't see my vision,
Yeah.
then we can't work together because I'm
Yeah.
telling you what I want. Well, the buyers won't want that. I'm like, I'm the real estate broker. I know what buyers want, and not to be
Yeah.
arrogant. You
Yeah.
know, I sell higher end homes and this is what they want.
Absolutely.
So, but Ricardo Saucedo with Arco Homes is the one that did the contract work for me here.
Great.
Ricardo.
And we
Okay.
just click. I mean, it's just like he can read my mind and he's,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am, on it. Good.
Yeah.
Go.
Gotta have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and all of your touches with lighting, with the way that the lights are, the pendant lights.
Lighting
coming
is
down,
so important.
Your hardware on even just on the pools that I see,
Yeah.
and the plumbing. It's you have a good cohesive.
It's an
vibe.
act of love too.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
didn't want it to go. I had a couple investors that offered me money for this property, a lot of money. And I did not. And I know that sounds crazy, but I poured my heart and soul into this property down to every detail. And
Yeah.
I told them, no, sorry. I want it to go to a family that's going to live here and enjoy it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
because
That's it.
I wanted the seller who gave this property to
Yeah.
me, I
Yeah.
wanted her to feel good about people that were moving into it as well.
Yeah, you're putting the next generation
Yes.
into it.
Yes.
This is the people are going to
Yep.
land here and memories are going to be created.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge part of real estate that
It's overlooked a lot.
it's overlooked because I mean,
is it?
oftentimes why people get into the industry is like, oh, I want to make money.
Money.
I want to make
Yeah.
money.
It's all
But
about
then,
the Benjamins. And
but then when you go to like your first closing for a first time home buyer or a family that's growing, you realize quickly you're like, oh wow, there's actually impact that I can
absolutely.
make.
Absolutely. And that's just how I was raised. I mean, my parents, I didn't come from much. I mean, my dad was a fire chief. My mom stayed at home. And we lived in a small town. And so we lived paycheck to paycheck. And I knew that I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to live like that. And now they're millionaires because they taught me save, 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 save. But first take care of the little guy,
Mhm.
then take care of yourself. And so I just came from a giving family. So
Wow.
it helps. And that helps with the work ethic too. Even
Yeah.
though my mom stayed home, the woman never sat down. I don't know what
Yeah.
she did, like constant, like a little Tasmanian devil,
Yeah.
which is where I get that from.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Not you don't have the ability to turn this off,
Yeah,
know?
you're just on.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the give. I mean,
Mm,
Mike
Yeah.
and I, we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Like when we're calling people, we're trying to build a relationship with them. We think, how can we give? Like when you kind of reverse it on like, instead of like, how can I get? You
Yeah.
really,
How can I give? Yeah.
yeah, how can I give? And it's a huge part of like business making like an impact. I think it's
Sure.
it's really important because if you give, you may even receive tenfold
Absolutely.
of what you give.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's the motivation. So I love your story. I love it. I
That's
think
how people stay longevity in an industry that's dying too. I mean, we're being taken over by iBuyers, and there's so many corporations and companies that are coming in here trying to take that over. But at the end of the day, you can go to Open Door and look at a house, but A, you're not going to have help. B, you don't have that emotional connection, because you as a lender and me as an agent, I become their family almost.
Yes.
I mean,
you see it.
everything's personalized, and you have 300 to 1,000 text messages per transaction, maybe more. And so important to have that relationship, especially as a lender too.
Yes.
I mean, you guys know, because
building trust is huge.
They're giving you their whole portfolio of money, and it might be big and it might be small. But I treat each one of my clients like they have all the same money. There shouldn't be any kind of discretionary
That's really
anything. If you make $100,000 a year, or if you make $20,000 a year, should be the same.
Right.
Yeah. That's so important. You put them through the same process, and it gives them respect, and it gives them honor. And that's how you keep this going.
Longevity.
Longevity is huge. And having people, like having your team that's behind you, sees the vision.
My team.
Seeing the vision is huge, because it's your why.
Well, and you're the example, right? So you're
you're
the
setting
next
the
generation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Into
I
real
appreciate
estate
that.
sees that it's not the get, I'm going to earn something off of somebody.
Right.
It's that I'm giving with a free and open hand.
Right.
And that's going to return. That'll return to you without expectation.
Right.
It's like
absolutely
right. And that, it's real estate or mortgages. It's not about I'm going to have free time, because you don't. If you're really working in this business, you don't have that. You don't. You're not sitting around all day, and you just magically money shows up in your account. And the other thing, it's not about the sale. It's about the person and about the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
I agree.
Love that.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally
So
agree.
everybody that's listening in, we're going to put all the information that you need to get in touch with Jaime and her team.
I'm happy to help anybody.
Yeah. And so if you connect with, you want to be a flipster, you want to get into it. This is a good place to start. So
yeah, for sure. And then my next project, I just purchased some land, about 8,000 square feet, and I'm building 4 3-story townhomes on that in the Emancipation Park area. So
cool.
That's a hot spot. It's a neat little area. And again, you don't want to push out people that have lived there for a zillion years. I typically wait, because I feel bad about gentrifying an area. I wait until there's a lot of other builders doing it before I do it. I had a very hard conversation with my dad about that. I'm like, I feel really bad, because these people are being taxed out of their homes.
Yeah. They are.
He's like, just don't be the first one in, because it makes you look like the jerk. Yeah. It stinks.
Right. They are being taxed out.
They're being taxed out of their
they
properties.
Can't afford it. And then, and that's just, unfortunately, just part of it.
It's part of it for sure. I mean, and there are some areas that definitely need cleaned up a little bit. And so we're looking at options to do more affordable housing for individuals in that area. So we're trying to keep some of the bones together in those areas.
I think that the thing that, from a lender's perspective, that we see, because we see the financial impact to buyers trying to get into a property in town. I mean, how can you get into a house sub 300 inside the belt?
You can't. It's so hard. You can't.
Or you're in a very
sketchy area.
Up and coming.
Right. Up and coming. Right.
Yeah.
You've just got to be courageous enough to step out. But there has to be a place to bring in affordable housing where we can get young professionals in, and not, they don't have to live way out of town. Or young families that are making decent money. They're not making unbelievable money, but for them to be in town based on where their work is, to give them the ability to have affordable housing. I think that's
it's tough.
Missing piece.
It's tough. City. And now that, now that the COVID is over in Texas, at least, did we ever even have COVID? Now that the COVID's over, people are moving here in droves from New York. I have a lot of clients from West and East Coast, from the South, from Florida, New York, California, New Jersey, Colorado. They're moving here because they're selling their $1 million properties and coming here and buying cash. So what's happening is taxes are raising.
Right.
Suburbs like Katy and Cypress are now becoming so expensive that people can't afford their property taxes. And so they just passed a new relief for property taxes in Harris County as well. So it's just, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah. Oh,
My pleasure.
I had a
Thank
great
you for
time
having me.
talking about it. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, so follow Jamie. Just see what's going on. Just I know that you're
and besides
constantly
flipping, she sells properties and she helps buyers, so that too.
Oh yeah. That's my bread and butter. This is my
we don't
fun
want
stuff.
it.
This is my fun
all
stuff.
of it.
This is my fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's JaimeFallon.com. And if you're an agent and looking to join a brokerage, NBEliteRealty.com is fantastic. Our broker is fantastic, and I'll be your main point of contact here in Houston.
awesome.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right,
you guys. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks, James.
See you guys later.
Have a good one, guys.
See you on the next episode.
Bye.